In today's video, I'll explain the final fight between Muzan and the Demon Slayers. In this video, you'll see how the Demon Slayers finally defeat the King of Demons, Muzan Kibutsuji. This fight is one of the most intense battles I've ever seen across all anime and manga. So don't skip even a single second. Watch till the end. Sadly, you'll also witness the deaths of many of our favorite characters in this video. But even in death, they receive a truly meaningful and satisfying ending. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's video. In our previous video, we saw Muzan defeating all the Hashira, and then Tanjiro appears in front of him. After that, we are shown the last part of Tanjiro's dream, where Suyako, who is the wife of Tanjiro's ancestor Sumiyoshi, asks Yoriichi to show his sun-breathing technique. Yoriichi then shows them his sun-breathing moves. Seeing Yoriichi's flawless movements makes everyone very happy, and Sumiyoshi memorizes Yoriichi's moves perfectly. By watching Yoriichi's movements, Tanjiro realizes that he makes many mistakes while using sun-breathing, and if he corrects those mistakes, he can become even better. Then Yoriichi gives his earrings to Sumiyoshi and gets ready to leave. Sumiyoshi tells him that he can come to them whenever he wants. As Yoriichi starts to leave, he looks very sad. Seeing this, Sumiyoshi cries and tells him that he will preserve the earrings for the future, and that Yoriichi should not consider himself worthless, because Yoriichi is the one who saved them. Sumiyoshi also says that he will pass down Yoriichi's breathing technique and his earrings to his descendants. Hearing this, Yoriichi looks at them, smiles, and thanks them. Seeing all of this, Tanjiro thinks that Yoriichi was a very simple person, and in his mind, he thanks Yoriichi because Yoriichi spared Lady Tamayo, which is the reason they have been able to hold Muzan back for so long. Yoriichi's technique is also what gave Tanjiro the ability to fight. Then Tanjiro thinks that his ancestors properly passed down the 12 forms of sun-breathing shown by Yoriichi to their descendants, and that his father also showed him the sun-breathing moves perfectly. When Tanjiro learned that there was a 13th form of sun-breathing, he had always wanted to know about it and learn it. That is why, when Tanjiro thinks about the 13th form of sun-breathing, the names of the sun-breathing forms come to his mind, and the names of the sun-breathing forms feel somewhat strange to him because the names are similar. At that moment, he remembers that his father once said that if the sun-breathing forms are used in the correct sequence, then sun-breathing can be performed throughout the entire night. Tanjiro's father could perform sun-breathing all night without stopping. Now, after seeing Muzan's heart and brain, Tanjiro understands that if the 12 forms of sun-breathing are used in sequence, the 13th form is produced. That means using all 12 sun-breathing forms together is the 13th form of sun-breathing. Because of this, Tanjiro plans to survive Muzan's attacks while using the forms one after another, continuously striking Muzan's brain and heart until the sun rises. Tanjiro knows that using the sun-breathing forms will be extremely painful for him. Then he starts thinking that he does not have talent like Yoriichi, so he does not know whether he will even survive until sunrise. He also thinks about how he will stop Muzan if Muzan tries to escape by exploding his body, and how he will defeat Muzan when even the great Yoriichi could not do it. Thinking about all this, Tanjiro starts losing his confidence. At that moment, he tells himself that he must do whatever he can, and he also says, "Set your heart ablaze." At that moment, Muzan attacks him, and Tanjiro counters with sun-breathing. Muzan then sees Yoriichi within Tanjiro, which makes him furious, and he attacks Tanjiro again. Tanjiro also counterattacks, but even then, some slashes land on his body. Within this short fight, Tanjiro understands that Muzan has 9 tentacles on his back, but he makes his fastest attacks using 8 tentacles from his thighs, along with his 2 arms. Muzan is an unstable creature, so he attacks in unexpected ways, which is why everyone has been defeated. While thinking about all of this, Tanjiro keeps countering all of Muzan's attacks, using the sun-breathing forms in sequence so that he can use the 13th form. Muzan also understands what Tanjiro is trying to do, but even then, he thinks there is no reason to worry, because the power of Tanjiro's attacks is nowhere near Yoriichi's attacks. On the other hand, Tanjiro has already used 6 forms of sun-breathing, and only half remain to be used, but because of using sun-breathing, his body condition is very bad, and he is struggling heavily. At that moment, the crow announces that there is 1 more hour left until sunrise. Right then, Muzan attacks Tanjiro again, and Tanjiro counters that attack, but Tanjiro's attack accuracy has dropped a lot. Muzan thinks that this is only natural. No one is like Yoriichi. At that moment, blood starts flowing from Tanjiro's mouth. Muzan continues attacking Tanjiro again and again, but Tanjiro somehow keeps dodging those attacks. Seeing this, Muzan questions himself about what is happening, why he cannot defeat a young boy whose condition is extremely bad and who is very slow. Then Muzan realizes that he is actually becoming slow, otherwise he would have already killed Tanjiro by now. Muzan then thinks, could this be because of Tamayo? Muzan had absorbed Tamayo, so some of Tamayo's cells are still inside Muzan's body. Using Tamayo's cells, Muzan questions Tamayo about what she did to him and asks whether the drug she gave him was only a drug to turn him into a human or if it was something else. In response, Tamayo says, yes, I gave you a drug to turn you into a human, but it has another effect as well, which I will not tell you. Tamayo then tells Muzan to find it out himself. Hearing this, Muzan checks Tamayo's memories, and within those memories, he sees Shinobu and Yushiro, who are creating the drug to turn Muzan into a human. At that moment, Shinobu says that their drug should be made as a hybrid. First, to turn Muzan into a human, and if that does not work, then something should be added so that Muzan starts aging, which would cause his age to increase by 50 years per minute. Seeing this, Muzan is shocked because Tamayo had given him this drug 4 to 5 hours earlier, but if the drug's effect started 3 hours after it was administered, then according to that calculation, his age has already increased by 9,000 years. That is also the reason why it took him so long to defeat the Hashira. At that moment, Tanjiro uses the 12 forms of the sun on Muzan, meaning Tanjiro uses the sun-breathing 13th form. However, it does not have much effect on Muzan. On the other hand, we see Yushiro heading toward the battlefield with some slayers to treat the Hashira. On the way, he sees Tamayo's cat, and he reattaches the severed body parts of the cat, causing it to regenerate because the cat is also a demon. After that, Yushiro gives the antidote to Muzan's poison to the slayers to give to Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Kanao because they had not been given the antidote earlier. Yushiro himself goes to Gyomei. He tries to wake Gyomei, and seeing Gyomei's condition, he breaks down badly and thinks that even if Gyomei wakes up, he has lost so much blood that he will not be able to fight. And without him, Tanjiro will not be able to hold Muzan alone until sunrise. On the other side, Muzan keeps attacking Tanjiro, and Tanjiro keeps dodging while thinking that just using all of sun breathing together will not be enough. He needs to accurately attack Muzan's heart and brain with it. That is why Tanjiro focuses on entering the transparent world. But because of that, the oxygen in his body starts decreasing, which causes difficulty in seeing. He is also in the air, and because of that, his foot slips when he tries to land, and Muzan attacks. That attack almost kills him. But at that exact moment, Obanai makes his entry, saves Tanjiro, and moves upward on top of the building. Seeing Obanai, Muzan starts cursing him, and we see that both of Obanai's eyes have been slashed. Seeing this, Tanjiro starts apologizing to him because Tanjiro thought that Obanai's eyes were slashed while trying to save him, but Obanai's eyes had been slashed earlier. Muzan keeps attacking them, but Obanai keeps dodging the attacks. Then Tanjiro says that he will support Obanai in the fight since Obanai's eyes have been slashed. Hearing this, Obanai tells Tanjiro that he has Kabimaru with him, so he does not need Tanjiro's support. By this time, Tanjiro has also recovered a bit, so Obanai lets him go. But at that moment, Muzan jumps and attacks Obanai, but Obanai dodges that attack. Muzan tries to attack again, but Obanai is already prepared for that attack. Muzan attacks, and Obanai counters it, which shocks Muzan because Kabimaru is predicting Muzan's attacks. After that, Tanjiro and Obanai attack Muzan together, and Muzan counterattacks. However, Muzan becomes extremely irritated because if he were not aging due to the drug, then Tanjiro and Obanai would never have been able to last this long against him. Tanjiro thinks that Muzan has become weak because of everyone's attacks, but even then, he is still very strong. At that moment, Tanjiro notices the scars on Muzan's body that were given by Yoriichi. He becomes extremely shocked because the places where Yoriichi had cut Muzan's body have not fully regenerated even after so many years. Those scars are burning Muzan's cells like the sun. Seeing this, Tanjiro understands that attacking those scarred areas will deal more damage to Muzan Muzan. After that, we are shown the Muzan versus Yoriichi fight from Muzan's perspective. When Muzan first met Yoriichi, Yoriichi seemed very weak to him, and at that time, there was no ambition or killing intent on Yoriichi's face, but then Yoriichi cuts Muzan down. The wounds that Yoriichi gave Muzan are still affecting him even today. Thinking this, Muzan screams that Yoriichi is the real monster, not him. On the battlefield, Tanjiro and Obanai are still fighting Muzan. Tanjiro's condition is extremely bad, but even then, he is giving his maximum effort to defeat Muzan. On the other hand, Kabimaru has reached his limit, so Tanjiro starts thinking about what he can do so that Obanai can see. At that moment, Yushiro's paper comes to his mind. Just then, the crow announces that only 40 minutes remain until sunrise. Hearing that so little time is left, Muzan starts fleeing from the battlefield. Tanjiro tells this to Obanai. Obanai is not surprised at all by Muzan's behavior because Muzan is not a samurai who would fight for his honor. Muzan is a creature who can do anything to survive. Muzan runs very fast, and seeing this, Tanjiro also starts running after him, thinking that they cannot lose like this. If they lose after coming this far, all the sacrifices of their allies will be wasted. At that moment, Muzan starts crushing the corpses of dead demon slayers under his feet, which makes Tanjiro extremely angry. He then starts throwing swords at Muzan again and again. Muzan blocks all the swords and thinks that if even a single sword were to pierce his body, it would cause him significant damage. At that exact moment, Obanai Iguro attacks Muzan and thrusts his red sword straight into Muzan's neck. Taking this opportunity, Tanjiro also moves in close to Muzan. Muzan attacks Obanai, but Tanjiro blocks that attack. After that, Tanjiro tries to give Obanai some papers, but before he can, Muzan attacks them, causing the papers to fall from Tanjiro's hand and also causing him to get injured. Even so, Tanjiro tells Obanai the location where the papers fell. Obanai follows that and then takes the papers and connects them with Kabimaru's vision. Now Obanai can see through it, making it easier for him to fight. For this, Obanai thanks Tanjiro. After that, he and Tanjiro continue launching one attack after another on Muzan, which makes Muzan extremely angry because he cannot escape because of them, and his stamina is also almost exhausted. After that, we see Nezuko. She has come very close to the battlefield, and we see that Nezuko's left eye has become like a human's. Nezuko starts moving toward the battlefield. At that moment, she remembers how her family was killed. We see that Muzan killed Tanjiro's family because he wanted to see whether any demon could conquer the sun. Muzan thought that everyone in Tanjiro's family had died, so he left that place. As this comes to her mind, Nezuko becomes extremely angry. Then slowly, she starts remembering everything that happened to her after Tanjiro took her and joined the Demon Slayer Corps, meaning all of Nezuko's memories returned to her. On the other side, on the battlefield, Obanai and Tanjiro are still fighting against Muzan. During the fight, Muzan senses that he was not able to completely kill the Hashira and that Yushiro is treating them. At that moment, the crow announces that only 35 minutes remain until sunrise. Hearing this, Muzan thinks that he must end the fight immediately and escape. Then he tries to explode his entire body so that he can escape, the same way he escaped from Yoriichi. Seeing this, Tanjiro tells Obanai what Muzan is trying to do, and Tanjiro becomes tense, because if Muzan divides himself, then he and Obanai together will not be able to finish Muzan. But then we see that Muzan fails to explode himself, which shocks Tanjiro, and also brings him relief. Muzan becomes extremely shocked and angry, and thinks that maybe he cannot explode himself because of Lady Tamayo's drug. Muzan thought that Tamayo's drug had 3 effects, and then Lady Tamayo says, "Your guess is very close, but you are wrong." At that moment, we see blood coming out of Muzan's mouth. Then Lady Tamayo says, while laughing, that the drug has a total of 4 effects. The 3rd effect is that it will continue to destroy Muzan's cells when Muzan becomes weak. Tamayo then coldly tells Muzan that it seems the time of his death has come, the death that he hates so much. Then Muzan stands in one place and thinks that the Hashira's red blade attacks should not have had any effect on him, but because of Tamayo's drug, these attacks are actually affecting him. After that, he starts analyzing Tamayo's drugs while standing there. Seeing Muzan in this condition, Tanjiro thinks that this might be because of Lady Tamayo's drug. But exactly then, Muzan releases a shock wave that hits Tanjiro and Obanai, causing causing Tanjiro to fall to the ground. Because of this attack, Tanjiro is unable to stand up. At that moment, we see a huge mouth emerge from Muzan's stomach. Muzan's shockwave attack also hits Kiria and her sisters. They are injured, but still, they try to do whatever they can. We then learn that only 25 minutes remain until sunrise. Meanwhile, Tanjiro tries to get up but fails, and Muzan continues to flee. Right then, Inosuke arrives in front of Muzan. Inosuke, crying with rage and sadness, tells Muzan to return everything he has damaged from the demon slayers and those he has killed, and says that if Muzan cannot do that, he will punish him 1,000,000 times for those losses. At that moment, Muzan attacks Inosuke, but Inosuke dodges the attack. Muzan attacks again and grabs Inosuke, and we see that even bigger mouths emerge from Muzan's hands. Seeing this, Tanjiro tries to get up but fails. Inosuke thinks he might die, but then Zenitsu attacks Muzan and rescues him. Zenitsu tells Inosuke to regain control of himself and reminds Tanjiro about Nezuko and his family to give him the courage to stand. At that moment, Muzan grabs Zenitsu and slams him against a wall. Inosuke attacks Muzan and frees Zenitsu, but Muzan counterattacks, causing him to crash into a wall. On the other hand, because of Muzan's poison, Tanjiro's nerves go out of control, so he drives his sword into his own chest to stop the effects of Muzan's poison. Meanwhile, Muzan's condition is also very bad. His body feels extremely heavy, and he cannot even lift his hands, but the demon slayers still stand up to fight, which makes him curse at them. On the other hand, we see that finally Gyomei and Giyu have also woken up, and they are heading toward the battlefield. Gyomei's condition is very bad. He is holding his weapon with his hands and mouth somehow, but he vows that he will defeat Muzan by any means necessary. On the battlefield, Inosuke uses beast-breathing fourth fang to attack Muzan, and Zenitsu uses thunder-breathing seventh form to attack, but Zenitsu has reached his absolute limit and only has enough power left to use the seventh form one more time. Then Zenitsu uses thunder-breathing seventh form again and slashes Muzan's chest, but he falls to the ground. Muzan attacks to kill him, but Inosuke blocks that attack. Muzan releases another shockwave, which almost directly hits Inosuke, but before it does, Tanjiro attacks Muzan and cuts off one of his hands. Tanjiro continues attacking Muzan using sun breathing, and Muzan counterattacks. Tanjiro realizes that once Muzan releases a shockwave, it takes some time before he can use it again. Tanjiro keeps fighting Muzan, but then blood starts coming from his mouth, and he loses his body's balance. Seizing the opportunity, Muzan attacks him, but Inosuke blocks that attack and saves Tanjiro. During this time, Tanjiro steadies himself and continues attacking Muzan. Seeing all this, Zenitsu becomes determined to join the fight. Otherwise, Muzan will escape. He recalls his gramps, summons courage within himself, and attacks Muzan, slashing his back. Inosuke and Tanjiro also attack Muzan. Muzan counterattacks, hitting Inosuke and sending him flying. Tanjiro dodges Muzan's attacks and moves to attack his body from below, but Muzan attacks Tanjiro from above with his hand. Seeing this, Zenitsu uses thunder-breathing seventh form and drags Muzan away, but Muzan attacks him, landing multiple slashes on his body. At that moment, Tanjiro attacks Muzan. While attacking, he drives his sword into Muzan's stomach, trapping him against a wall, and plans to hold him there as long as he can, but Muzan attacks Tanjiro with his hand. Then Mitsuri arrives and tears that hand of Muzan apart. Immediately after that, Muzan attacks Mitsuri with his tentacle, and with his other arm, he attacks Tanjiro. But at that moment, Sanemi comes and cuts Muzan's hand to save Tanjiro. Then Sanemi drives his sword into Muzan's hand and pins it against the wall. Then Muzan creates a huge mouth from his stomach up to his face and lunges to devour Tanjiro. But Obanai arrives there and saves Tanjiro, falling in front of Muzan's mouth. At that moment, we finally see the sunrise. Seeing this, Muzan is shocked and releases a shockwave, which throws Sanemi far away and also frees Obanai from Muzan's mouth. But Tanjiro still has his sword embedded in Muzan's stomach. Because of the shockwave, one of his hands is cut. But he does not give up and tightens the sword with his other hand until it turns red. At that moment, Giyu arrives and also firmly grips the sword with Tanjiro, which causes the sword to turn turn red, and Muzan's body starts burning in the sunlight, which makes Muzan think of creating a shield of flesh to save himself. Then we see Muzan transform into a giant baby, and his body begins pulling Tanjiro inside. Tanjiro pushes Gyou out, but he himself goes inside with the red blade. Then Muzan starts crawling on the road to try to move into the shadows, but his body keeps burning in the sunlight. Seeing this, the demon slayers throw a bookshell at him, and Kiria gives orders to the slayers on what to do. Then some slayers push Muzan with several cars. Muzan destroys the cars, and where he is trying to enter the shadows, some slayers have placed 2 large cars and are holding them so that Muzan cannot escape, while Muzan pushes the cars to try to get into the shadows. At that moment, Sanemi attacks Muzan's hand and keeps cursing him. Muzan climbs onto the cars, and Gyomei wraps his chain around Muzan's neck and starts pulling him. Some slayers help Gyomei, and they flip Muzan over. Muzan now tries to dig into the ground, but Gyomei and the others continue pulling him with the chain. Sanemi and Gyou keep attacking Muzan, then Obanai starts attacking Muzan. While Gyomei pulls Muzan, his chain breaks. At that moment, Tanjiro slashes Muzan's face from the inside, causing blood to flow from Muzan's face. In his pain, Muzan sits down, which causes him to burn even more under the sunlight. Finally, slowly, Muzan completely burns to ashes. Seeing this, Kiria and all the demon slayers become extremely happy. And of course, they have every reason to be happy because after 1,000 years of trying, they have finally achieved this victory. Kiria becomes very exhausted, so her sisters start treating her. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, one slayer tells everyone that the battle is not over yet, and to go to the injured people and give them treatment. Some slayers go to Gyomei, but Gyomei tells them to leave him there and go to the others, because he knows his time has come. Hearing this, the slayers cry, and Gyomei says this is his last wish. Then Gyomei sees the children in front of him, the ones he had raised before. The children apologize to Gyomei and say that on that day they were not trying to leave him behind. Some of them were going to bring weapons, and some were trying to get help from humans because Gyomei was blind, and they were trying to save him. Gyomei understands their intention. Then one of them apologizes regarding Kaigaku, saying that if they had survived, the next day they would have explained everything to Gyomei. They apologize again. Hearing this, Gyomei starts crying and also apologizes to them because he could not save anyone. Then the children hug Gyomei and tell him not to apologize. They say they love Gyomei very much, and that is why they had been waiting here for him all this time. Hearing this, Gyomei thanks them and with a beautiful smile says, "Then let's go together." And with this, Gyomei Himejima, the strongest Hashira of this era, dies. The slayers beside Gyomei hug him and start crying. Then we see Obanai Iguro and Mitsuri. Obanai has Mitsuri lying on his lap, and both of them are in very bad condition. Mitsuri asks Obanai if they have won. Obanai says yes, Muzan is dead. Hearing this, Mitsuri says good. She also says she doesn't feel any pain in her body and that she will die soon. Obanai says he will also die soon, so Mitsuri won't have to die alone. Mitsuri says she wants Obanai to survive, and she apologizes to him for not being able to fight more. Obanai forbids her from saying such things. Then Obanai reminds her of the first time they met. Mitsuri says that day she had lost her way between Ubuyashiki and the mansion, and Obanai had helped her. Obanai says it was the opposite, meaning both of them had lost their way. Then Obanai starts talking about when he first met Mitsuri, he thought she was a completely normal girl, and her smile seemed very beautiful to him. Mitsuri was training very hard to become a Hashira, but she hadn't changed at all. Obanai enjoyed talking to Mitsuri very much, and being beside her made him feel normal. Obanai says he is sure others feel the same. Obanai also says Mitsuri is very kind, and because of her, many people's hearts were happy. So Obanai tells her to hold her head high and stop looking down on herself. He also says he will not allow anyone to complain about Mitsuri. Hearing this, Mitsuri cries and says she is very happy, and she says she loves Obanai very much. Then Obanai continues praising Mitsuri even more. Hearing this, Mitsuri cries and asks Obanai if they were both born human again, would he make her his wife? Obanai says yes. If she accepts someone like him, then he has no problem. Obanai promises Mitsuri that he will keep her happy and that next time he will not let Mitsuri die, and with that, Obanai Iguro, the serpent Hashira, and Mitsuri, the love Hashira, take their final breaths. Then we see Sanemi. Sanemi opens his eyes, and in the afterlife he sees he is standing in a dark place, and all his siblings are standing in a lit area, but his mother is not there, so he looks around for his mother and says, "Mother, why aren't you going there?" A voice comes from the darkness. "I cannot go there." In the darkness, Sanemi holds his mother's hand and asks, "Why?" His mother says she killed her own children, so she cannot go to heaven. Hearing this, Sanemi says, "Okay, then I will go with you." Sanemi, with a faint smile, further says he will take his mother in his arms and go to hell with her. Then Sanemi's father pushes Sanemi, freeing his hand from his mother's hand, and says he will take his mother to hell. Sanemi keeps cursing his father. Sanemi's father angrily says, "Your time to go anywhere hasn't come yet." And he tells Sanemi to be grateful, because it is because he was born his son that Sanemi is so powerful. Then we see in the real world that Sanemi opens his eyes, which makes the Slayers happy. Meanwhile, Slayers are treating Inosuke, and some Slayers are treating Zenitsu as well. Zenitsu tells them that if he dies, they should tell his wife Nezuko that he fought bravely and died. The Slayers say, "Nezuko is not your wife." Meanwhile, Gyu wakes up and starts looking for Tanjiro. Gyu sees that some Slayers are treating Tanjiro, so he runs towards Tanjiro. The Slayers, crying, say that Tanjiro is not breathing. Hearing this, Gyu remembers Tanjiro's face and starts crying. Then he goes to Tanjiro, sits beside him, and touches his head to Tanjiro's head, saying that he failed to protect anyone yet again. Ultimately, he was the one who had to be saved by others. Saying this, Gyu begins to apologize. Then Nezuko comes there crying. Then we see that Tanjiro opens his eyes, but his eyes have become like a demon's, and he regenerates his pierced hand, and suddenly launches an attack on a fellow Slayer. So guys, that's it for today. How Tanjiro became a demon, and how the Slayers held him back, we will cover in the next video, so subscribe to the channel and stay with us. If you liked this video, like it and let us know in the comments how you felt about it. The previous parts of the Demon Slayer manga are already uploaded on my channel, so if you haven't watched them yet, go watch them quickly. So for today, goodbye, we will see you in the next video.